All right, everybody, welcome again to Holy Smoke, Cigars and Spirituality. I am Christian Smith. I'm the heretic and the host. Shout out to everybody in our Patreon community, especially those of you who are with us today in the live virtual audience, those of you listening on the podcast platforms, and to those listening over on Fam Radio. We're glad that you're here with us. Today's topic is post Trump. What now? Now that we're moving beyond the Trump presidency, what in the hell are we supposed to do now? So I got a few of my friends here with me who are going to unpack this topic. And before we go into that, as we do on every episode at Holy Smokes, we have one rule and one rule only. The rule here is that we always respect and honor each other's lived experiences.
What's the rule, Reverend?
One more time for the Kingmaker. The one rule here is that we respect and honor each other's lived experiences.
One more time,
One more
Reverend.
time, Reverend.
One more time. One more time. The one rule at Holy Smokes is that we respect and honor each other's lived experiences. And that is so important because when we have conversations about life, faith, and theology, many times people want to lift their theories and their doctrines above what somebody else has actually lived. So, what we challenge people to do here is that when you encounter somebody whose lived experience contradicts your doctrine or your theory, you take that as an opportunity to learn from what they've lived. And that's rooted in greatest commandment theology. It's a brand of theology that I curated over the past few years. It says that your love for God is displayed through how you love your neighbor, which is an extension of how you love yourself. Therefore, you can't fully love God if you don't love your neighbor, and you can't fully love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. They all work together. So, what we are going to do now is start to get into some of these introductions. But first, we have a few uh, indicators on this show because, we have people on here that use some big words. And when people use big words on this show and don't define them, they have to put a dollar in the dollar jar because we want to make this information accessible to everybody. On the next episode, one of our patrons, Josh Carpenter, is going to be a special guest. And chances are we're going to hit him with the dollar jar a lot of times. But for today, we got the Kingmaker and we got the pundit. So if somebody uses the dollar jar word, you're going to get this right here. All right, all right. And then also, again, we got the Kingmaker, we got the pundit, and we got the truth. So every now and then we have these mic drop moments. And I'm sure we're bound to have some today. If somebody has a thought that is so profound that we just think it needs to be appreciated, you're going to hear this. All right. And then we got another one that we added this season. People on this show like to take shots at each other. We have fun. We uh we uh we clown each other a little bit every now and then, but we do want to regulate that. So if somebody takes a shot at somebody else on the show, you're going to get this indicator. Funny story real quick.
Oh,
Funny story real quick about that. If you don't know what that music is, it sounds very familiar to many of us, especially in the hip hop community. Our one of our producers, AT&T, she put that graphic together, and she asked us if we knew what music that was, and I said, "Yeah, that's Biggie. Who shot you?" And she was like, "No, that's Meg The Stallion." I was like, "But Meg The Stallion sampled Biggie." So there's a little generational divide here at Holy Smokes. So when you hear that noise, that means somebody took a shot. Either you may identify with Biggie, who shot you. You may identify with Meg The Stallion, shots fired. Either way, it's the same basic premise. All right. Then also, everybody knows that Grace and the Pundit has a pun for almost every topic. Episode 1, he hit us with like 5 different puns, and it just brought us to a point where we decided we need to have something to acknowledge these puns. So every time Grayson does a pun, you're gonna hear this. Puntastic. All right, y'all. Let's get into our introductions. I want to start with start with the Kingmaker. Kingmaker, tell us, what are you smoking? What are you drinking? And then what is one thing you hope to accomplish in 2021? And if you're in the virtual audience, we want you to share the same thing. What's one thing you want to accomplish in 2021? Kingmaker, go ahead.
Happy morning, happy afternoon, happy night, wherever you are, and more important, happy new year. Glad to be back with you in 2021. I am Kervance Ross, the Kingmaker, and I'm smoking Fat Bottom Betty. As this episode goes on, I'll be smoking uh, the Holy Smokes cigar, full body, sweet Maduro, and I'm drinking God's vodka, H2O, and enjoying it. And one of the things I want to accomplish in 2021 is to be a better investor from a financial standpoint in the stock market. I plan on investing heavily this year in stock market through mutual funds and some time on my own. I secondly want to be more voracious reader in 2021. I literally.
I was waiting. Like, we're gonna hit you for voracious, right? You gotta start it so quick, bro. This is your first 60 seconds of speaking in season 3, and you already got the dollar jar. We're off to a great start. Please continue.
I want to be a more aggressive reader. Uh, and this, I want to try to make sure that I multiply my reading. And number 3, I literally want to pray more this year than I've prayed in the past. So those are 3 things that I'm trying to get accomplished in 2021.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much. Let's kick it over to our first sighting of Karima Akila the Truth for season 3. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what's one thing you want to accomplish in 2021.
Whew, Lord, can I just exhale? Jesus, that's number one. Just want to exhale. What up? What up? Round-headed. My name is Karima Akila. Around here, they call me the Truth. Oh, I'm drinking. What's this here? Some Cafe Du Monde. Yes, need that in my life. First thing, I want to lose my Rona rolls. Okay, the Rona rolls, they ain't, I make it cute because that's what I do. You know what I'm saying? I can make it cute. My mama taught me how you can rock anything, and I could do that. But I would rather not rock as many of these Rona rolls with me. You see what I'm saying? So that's number one. That's the first thing I got to go. I got to accomplish. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like the Rona rolls in the back, that ain't the will of God for my life. That ain't the will of God. And then overall, it's time to have fun. It's time to have fun in 2021. It's time to have fun. It's time to be light and bright, easy breezy, lemony squeezy. That's me for 2021. Easy breezy, lemon, easy like Sunday morning. That's what I'm going for. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that I do, I want to do it with poise and with grace and just be easy breezy. That's me. That's all I got for you for right now. Easy breezy.
Said I'm easy.
Oh, we singing?
Yeah. Easy like Sunday morning.
All right. I hear you.
You gotta have it.
That's
Listen, if you're listening to this podcast but not watching it, you should go sign up on Patreon just so you can see the Truth's platinum hair, because she is killing this.
Y'all like that?
She is killing this. You can't
Cause
get all
I'm
of this.
easy. That's all I'm gonna give you. I ain't gonna church it no more than that.
Yeah.
Lord.
Yo, Kervance, it doesn't matter what Kervance is singing, he gonna make it sound like church.
Sound like Al Green. Sound like Al Grits Green up in here.
Yo, it's the best. It's the best thing ever. When I'm like somewhere with Kervance and there's a song playing, it could be like neo soul R&B. It does not matter. If you start singing it, he's gonna make it sound like Sunday morning on the mourner's bench every single time. Oh man, Grayson, introduce yourself and what do you hope to accomplish in 2021?
To have Kervance's voice. That is to make everything that churchy. Got to bring that into 2021 so it can be 2020 win. So my name's Grayson Hester, pronouns he, him, his. I paused because I was waiting on the pun sound.
Yes. You gotta be paying attention because Grayson drops them in everywhere.
Oh yeah,
I was
you
like,
said Smith. You said mourner's bench. That's a black colloquialism, and they don't know what the mourner's bench is. So you're gonna have to clear that up later.
All right, I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna let Grayson finish and I'm gonna explain the mourner's bench.
yeah. Yeah, that'd be helpful for me too. I'm always happy to learn. So yeah, Grayson Hester. They call me the pundit for obvious reasons. Pronouns he, him, his. I was drinking just some coffee, but the trend for me so far this year is that I finish whatever I'm drinking even before we start the podcast to varying results. And what I hope to accomplish in 2021, partly inspired by Karima, I hope to be just have more fun. I feel like that the fun-loving, more spontaneous part of me was a little muted in 2020, so I hope to bring that up to a fuller volume. To take more seriously Sabbath, I really let myself go in that respect in 2020, and I need to take better care of myself that way. And then more practically, just to finish strong, I graduate from McAfee School of Theology in May. So I have every intention of doing that, but it is nonetheless still my goal to finish strong, continue making all A's, and have an MDiv by May.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we are looking forward to helping Grayson celebrate his graduation in May. Also, one
And
of our
Tierney.
producers, yeah,
Yeah,
AT&T, one of our producers, she finishes in May as well. So we're very excited for both of them. That is a great accomplishment, and I want to congratulate both of you in advance. For Josh, he said, "What is the mourner's bench?" So Josh, in the old black church, there was a bench where people would sit who had been like outside of the will of God, or we would say in a backslidden condition. Backsliders sat on the mourner's bench until they were ready to join the rest of us in the regular benches, the regular pews. A lot of kids spent time on the mourner's bench when they got in trouble back in the day. So it was, if we're gonna be honest, Josh, it was a black church shame tactic.
They literally thought you needed to be in mourning because you were not in the will of God. So they
Yeah,
put you on a bench and made people pray and look at you until you came out of mourning and got with God and get right with God and do it now. That was their mindset on it.
yeah, absolutely.
was this bench towards the front of the church or
Or,
towards the back?
or not towards the front. It
The
was
front.
in the front and in the corner.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, absolutely. Hmm. Yes, Ariana, it was like church timeout. um, so I'll tell everybody again, I'm Christian, the heretic and the host. I'm having the Holy Smokes Sweet Maduro here. Really enjoy this stick. I can never get it right with the light. Oh, look at that. Look at that. There it is. That's the Holy Smoke Sweet Maduro. I'm having the Kingmaker's Signature Cafe Royale. And today, this is the Baptist Cafe Royale because I topped it off with some bourbon from the Baptist minister Elijah Craig, and I also hit a little dab of Parsons Proof from the Baptist minister Greg DeLoach, the Bearded Sage. So this is a Baptist Cafe Royale. And two things I want to accomplish in 2021 are both related to the community that we've been building here at the Faith Community and Holy Smokes. One thing is I want the Faith Community to record music this year. I want us to record a music project that reflects the community and our belief system, because I believe that theology is transmitted through music just as much as it is transmitted through uh, proclamation and preaching. So I want TFC to record its own soundtrack. And I'm looking forward to getting started with that in 2021. We are blessed in our community with some of the most gifted musical people you will find anywhere. And then also, particularly for Holy Smokes, one thing I want to accomplish in 2021 is for us to have a mobile cigar lounge, a place for the Holy Smokes community to meet in person when it's safe to do so. Also, with this mobile cigar lounge, we'll be able to have our hybrid gatherings. So for those who join us monthly from different parts of the country and the world, we'll be able to meet virtually and physically at the same time in the Holy Smokes mobile cigar lounge. And also, when it's safe for us to record together in person again, we'll have a place to record that is all our own. So that's the goal for 2021. So everybody look out for more information on that, because we're going to get this thing rolling. I mean, we already rolling. We're just going to keep it pushing, taking advantage of the momentum.
We should use a pun for that. We're talking about a mobile cigar lounge, and you're like, we got to keep it rolling.
But it wasn't a pun. You made it a pun.
But it doesn't matter the intention, the impact. I need that bump.
Yeah, you did. It was a pun. You got to have it. That was a great observation. It was really.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. So, last season we introduced a segment called the cigar tip. Tiger got us started with it. And then the Kingmaker jumped in with the Kingmaker Cigar Corner, and Myron jumped in with Myron's Cigar Moment. Last week, I introduced the Heretic's Humidor. Well, today, we're kicking it back over to the Kingmaker for the Kingmaker's Cigar Corner.
And that music and that intro is so beautiful. Happy 2021. We are about harmony and not so much competition this year. I'm killing that spirit. And I'm glad that we all have different perspectives when it comes down to cigar tips, because all of us are in some shape, form, or fashion aficionados. And I wanted to focus on a tip focused specifically on sizes and styles of cigars, because in cigar world and in cigar mindset, size really doesn't matter, but you should at least know the different sizes and shapes. And some of the most common sizes and shapes are the Parejo, the Torpedo, the Presidente, and even the Churchill. I'm going to cover a couple of those so that you'll have some perspective. You have a Corona, which is kind of more like what I'm smoking. The ring gauge is literally or generally about 40 in circumference, and it's about 4 to 5 inches in length. For those of you who are focused on a Robusto, it's about 48 to 50 in circumference, and it's about 4 to 5.5 inches in length. And then at the end of this, the Churchill, named after Winston Churchill, is one of your larger cigars. It's about 47 in circumference, but it's about 7 inches in length. Because of this, it allows you to almost smoke cigars like clockwork or like time. You can state by the length of your cigar how long it's going to take you. These kind of tips will help you pick cigars, figure out what you like, understand the time that you have to smoke it, and enjoy your cigar. As always, this is the Kingmaker Cigar Corner. Thank you. Hope you use that tip. And happy 2021.
Shout out to the Kingmaker for the cigar corner today. And also, I got to shout out Brandon Pear, Truth Productions, who created the Holy Smokes jingle that you will be hearing this season. You heard it in the intro to the podcast. You just heard it right there. Brandon Pear and Truth Productions is such a blessing to the entire Holy Smokes community and the faith community at large. So shout out. Also, shout out to our patrons who shared what they wanted to accomplish in 2021 and the live feed. We are going to partner with you all. So Ariana, we're going to partner with you to make sure you get that stuff done. Josh, same thing for you. Anybody else who wants us to partner with you and making sure we get our goals accomplished this year and walk alongside each other, that's what community is all about. Let's get it. It's January 2nd. We got 12 whole months to make it happen. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this topic. And I'm going to tell you right now, the truth, I want to hear from you first, because we have been through 4 difficult years. I mean, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, in the words of Dave Chappelle, regardless of how you feel about Trump, you got to admit he had a pretty tough go at it. It was just a rough time, and there have been a number of effects as a result of his presidency. So, Cream, I want you to go first. Tell us, how do you see, how has Trump's presidency affected the country, and we can also go into more specifically how has it affected the church?
Y'all know I was a teacher in my previous life, so I often refer to children and use them as an illustration. So if you remember when you were little, like in kindergarten, and they had the skinny crayons and you had the big fat crayons, right? So if you can imagine taking the big fat crayon, the one that you had to, when you were little, had to hold it with your whole hand like that, right? And then like drawing a line with that. I feel like the Trump presidency did a really good job of drawing a big fat line in the sand with a real big fat marker. And it is very, very clear to see who's on what side. It's very clear to see where the lines are drawn. I feel like now more than ever, that trench that line made is deep. And so the divide is already there, but there's a deep trench between the two different sides. And so in order to cross that, there will have to be a bridge, and then the playing field has to be leveled again. So if we didn't know it before, those that were hiding in the shadows are now in full broad daylight. How people felt about either poor people or Black people or people who were different than them, those lines have been scribbled back and forth by that big fat crayon. And it's worn down the paper that it's been drawn on. And so there's a lot that has to be healed. One of the things that I'm very aware of, and one thing that I do plan on doing in 2021, is doing a better job of listening. I remember when my children were learning how to debate, they had to learn how to not only debate what they believed in, but they also had to learn the other side well enough in order to debate that, in order to prove that side as well. And so in order for us to move forward and to heal and to bring up that trench that's there, we need to understand the other side and listen. Not for the purposes of trying to win someone over to our side, but just to listen to see how the world occurs to them. There is a reason why the divide is so great. And it's going to take us listening to them, recreating the other person, just for the sake of making sure that we've heard them. So it's not a matter of whether or not a side is right or wrong. The Trump presidency just really made it very crystal clear what we have, what we've always had. And in order for us to do whatever's necessary to move forward, it's going to require us to listen very carefully to each other. But the line has been drawn in the sand, and it's like a huge huge trench.
Very well stated. I also mentioned what Ariana said in the chat, that she feels like the Trump presidency just uncovered what was already there. So that's another way to look at it. Karima, if you can help me, because I struggle here, and you said we need to listen to each other. There are some people I just don't want to listen to. So how do I navigate that? Because I don't want to listen to all of these people. Some people I don't want to hear a damn thing they have to say. So help me, Karima. How can I overcome that?
Why? What is it that we want? So when I first identify what it is that I want, if I want a country that is at least able to unify on the points that it can unify to move forward, what it is that I want has to be greater enough for me to put aside the reasons why I can't listen to someone, or the reasons why I wouldn't want to listen to someone. The only reason why I would be willing to sit across from the table and really try and understand another person's point of view is so that we can move forward. Without that, without me putting aside either my reasons why, and those reasons are justified, I'm sure, as to why. For instance, I know we're going to get to it later in the show, some of our friends in the evangelical church world that have very strong opinions for Trump. Some of those people are my close friends from the church that I used to belong to. I have had to put aside my reasons why I disagree with them so that I can hear them and get into their world and understand how the world occurs for them, so that I can find a point of connection somewhere so that we can move this forward. So yeah, that's why the reason why has to be greater than my opinion.
Karima, can I
even what I believe is right or wrong. Our unity has to be greater.
Can I ask you a question, a clarifying question, Karima?
Mm-hmm.
What about, and like you said, the reasons are justified. So this is purely curiosity. I'm not trying to challenge you. What about if safety enters the equation? Because some of the people who are in this camp represent varying degrees of danger to everyone in this chat or in this podcast, but particularly the three of y'all who don't look like me. So how have you come to understand safety in this respect?
Yeah, absolutely. Protecting yourself, protecting myself, meaning I'm not going to allow myself to be in a position where I am attacked. So yes, I'm not saying listen to the other person for the reason of putting myself in harm's way. I'm saying there is a reason why someone thinks the way that they do. And in order for me to understand that, in order for me to understand what's important to them, in order for me to understand what is it about me that scares them, what is it about you, Grayson, that scares them, that causes them to want to do you or I harm, I have to get in their head and understand why. I have to be smarter than them, right? I have to be whole and complete and healed myself. So yes, no, I'm not talking about, I don't necessarily adhere to that philosophy of turning the other cheeks. I ain't got but, 4. Okay. And so we ain't, all right, you ain't getting all the cheeks. No. But at the same time, I do want to be able to understand how the world occurs for that person. Because once I understand how the world occurs to them, then I can understand what it is that they're going to do. And then I know how to, as they say in the church, govern myself accordingly. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And the way I process that, because what I heard you say in a couple of instances, you hinted at relationship as you were talking. You seem to be talking about people that you know, who share differing opinions with you, people that you know personally, who would engage in a conversation in order to understand, so
Right.
that we're both entering with the intent to understand each other. And I am 100% on board for conversations like that. It's the conversations that I tend to have theologically a lot, where the other party is only entering the discussion to debate me and prove me wrong. Those are the conversations where you don't really want to hear anything I have to say. You just simply want to tell me how wrong I am. And in those instances, I'm not giving you any of my energy, I'm not giving you any of my time. If you want to stay on that side, like if that line has been drawn in the middle, let's meet inside of that trench and hash it out.
Yeah.
But if you just want me to go through the trench to come back up to meet you on your side, that's not going to work.
Right.
So I think there is beauty in finding common ground when possible, but that means both of us have to get in the trenches. That means you have to do your work just like I have to do my work. And I think there are too many people, oftentimes on both sides, who don't want to do any work, who don't want to do any work. So it's one of the things that I challenge people with in this particular community, Holy Smokes in the faith community. Like, we can't we can't look down on people who don't see things the way that we do, because a lot of times there are people who desire to get a different perspective and don't know how to go about it, don't know what questions to ask, don't know what will be offensive. And I have all the patience in the world for people like that. I will talk to you till I'm blue in the face. But if you just want to debate me about about why my lived experience isn't reality, and whatever your understanding is trumps my lived experience, honestly, when we talk about them cheeks, you can kiss mine. Kingmaker, what you got, man?
Wow. I grew up in an era where when you went to school, everybody had books. Um, we had 6 courses when I got to high school, and you would change every hour or so. You had a book for every class. One of the books that I got introduced to that I still use today is a book called The Dictionary. And we had become uh, preferential to a particular dictionary. It was the Merriam-Webster dictionary. And it defined words so that I could understand how to communicate with the masses. What, for me, the Trump presidency has helped me to understand is everything that I learned about the dictionary was a lie. Because he's been able to allow people in a country called the United States to be redefined and help us clearly understand that this is a pun, because we're not united. We're more divided than ever. He's helped me understand that a president looks different based off of the last president if that president's hue was dark. And once that moment is over, we've got to redefine a president. We've had to redefine competency. We've had to redefine media. We've had to redefine humanity. We have to redefine civil rights. And this has been a challenge because for 4 years, every word that I had learned that had anything to do with our country, our rights, our perspective, and the highest office in land has literally been eradicated, meaning it has been washed away. And it has forced me to redefine how I see people. I realize that the president doesn't have to have class. I realize that people in the Senate don't actually have to care about people. They just have to care about people who have enough money to move their margin. Within that, it is now forcing us to redefine how we see each other, how we see leadership, and how we see individual value for life. When it comes down to what Trump has done for the church, I don't think he's redefined it. He's not using the dictionary. He's using another book. He's using the thesaurus. The thesaurus allows me to find other words that are synonymous that I can use And what I found is that evangelical is synonymous with Satan, with demonic. I found out that the presidency is synonymous with oppression. I found out that pandemic is synonymous with oppression of people who didn't know what oppression was before they looked it up in the dictionary at the top of 2020. And what it has forced us to do is think about what Bible have we been reading? What Christ have we been following? And have we ever been in love with Christ? Or have we been in love with the Christ that we defined when we enslaved people hundreds of years ago? And now all of it is being redefined. And within that, I think we got a lot of work to do. But the dictionary, the thesaurus, and our points of view have totally been shifted over the last 4 years of the Trump presidency in the world as well as in the church.
Yeah, man. It's so interesting how the words get shifted based on context, right? Like evangelical in and of itself really shouldn't be a bad word. It shouldn't have a negative connotation. But based on the context, like you don't even want to use that term. Like a basic definition of evangelize in our context is to preach the Christian gospel. Like, and that's like a baseline understanding. Now, there's another understanding of it that deals with conversion, right? Which are two totally different things, because you can preach the Christian gospel without having the goal of converting everybody that you encounter. So it's like we got to ask for definitions and synonyms for everything now, because when people ask me, am I a Christian? I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, tell me how you define Christian, and I'll tell you if I'm that. Well, are you evangelical? What do you mean by that? Do you mean a person that preaches the Christian gospel, or one that uses manipulation and shame in order to convert people over to Christianity?
I think that's scary, Christian, simply because after 4 years, if you got to go and redact, redefine, and restructure the thesaurus and the dictionary because of one person, you start to realize that we got a real major problem when I can't even say you. If you say I love you, I got to ask you what about me do you love? If I'm a citizen, what do you define as a citizen? If this is a pandemic, what do you define as a pandemic? All of that stuff has just been totally erased, and we literally got to go back and write a new dictionary and get a new thesaurus after Trump's presidency.
Yeah. And that's why we've been curating our own language in our community about what it means to follow Christ. Like we've had to like redefine that. We've had to redefine what it means to be a Christian to the extent like we've had to redefine everything at the faith community. What does it mean to be a member? There are a lot of people who associate with Holy Smokes because they don't want to do church, but that's because their definition of church is tied to going into a building on Sunday morning to hear music and hear a preacher preach. And that's how they define church. But based on how I define church, Holy Smokes is church. So people who say, I'm cool with Holy Smokes, but I don't want to do church, my response is, well, this is kind of how we do church. So even when you're here, like this is an expression of what the church is supposed to be. It's a community of people who are coming together with a shared belief in something greater than us, and we take the journey in community to learn how to commune with that greater being that we call God, and we come together in a space that is predominantly Christian to look at the example of Jesus to show us what it means to commune with that divine being. And yeah, we really have to pay so much attention to our definitions right now, because yeah, it's you can't even overstate that in this particular time. Grayson, you seem like you got something on your mind, man. What's on your mind, brother?
I mean, I always do, but that was mostly my my listening face. I tend to be like, when I like want to let people know I'm really listening. Um, so many things. I agree with. I loved Karima's image of drawing, and of course the crayon is orange. You didn't say it, but I think you said it. The crayon is orange and drawing that line in the sand. Um, there's so many directions I could go, but I think I'll just talk about my experience being home for the last month and a half for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Because this 2020, one thing it did, actually through sort of this like Dolly Parton renaissance that's happening. You know, she saved the world, people say, like by donating to the vaccine, literally saving one of her coworkers' lives by pulling them away from a car. So people are like talking about Dolly Parton a lot. And one reason I do is because it helps me reconnect with where I came from. And this, so through that, and then through some family situations, I've really just become more interested in not just like my immediate family, but my ancestry, and not even like Irish, Scottish way back in the day, but like previous like great grandfathers, great great grandfathers. So like I come from coal miners, very, you know, Appalachian, very white Appalachian, and spent some time in the region that some of my family members still live in. And it is exactly what Trump country is. It's one of those places where I stepped out and I was like, oh my gosh, if any member of TFC was here, like they would need like 10 guns on them. Just one of those regions. And it got me thinking about like, I think this really has not only drawn that line in the sand, but it's almost, it's not even like it's drawing a line. It's like a scalpel that is cutting a line, revealing the orange color that was already there. It's not adding, I mean, it's adding new hues to it, but it's not a new color, because I'm in this depressed region. It used to be called Lake City, used to be coal mining. And I'm like, why is it that the people who stand the most to benefit from some of the policies that the other side is putting out there still don't vote in their interest? And I know this is a long conversation, historic, but my entryway into it was seeing this firsthand, a place I would not go otherwise if not for my family being there in depressed Appalachian, rural East Tennessee. Is just like, oh, so in the same way that we operate unconsciously by how our parents, by those who gave birth to us, treated us and instilled in us, we operate unless we challenge that. You know, not just white people, because every demographic, their support increased for Trump. But I feel like I can talk a little more authoritatively and ethically on the white side of things. I really do think that it has exposed that which gave birth to us, and we're revealing the extent of our childhood trauma. What is it that we internalize? As Dr. Walker Barnes says, the moral injury. And it is power at all costs, superiority and supremacy at all costs, because, you know, white people in supporting Trump, continuing to unto the death, don't fear climate change. We fear having to change our consumption habits. We don't fear school shooters because we go to church with them on Sundays. We don't fear anything except that which will remove the only thing we've ever could depend on, which is our false sense of superiority and our false sense of power, even to the point of having no other power otherwise, no money, no standing. And so I think when the culture is shifting in such a way that removes the ability of white people to stand in that power and make it known through violence, through signs, whatever, they still can, but there's now backlash. I think there is a sense of like, oh, so you're going to come after my mom. You're going to come after my dad. You're going to come after what gave birth to me. And this primal response that is completely outside of any kind of rationality, any kind of reasoning. It's a cult, because cults attract people who are completely alone and have nothing to fall back on. And whiteness assures ensures that there is nothing to fall back on except for itself. And so if that's then taken away, then you have this Trump guy who says, no, 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 you're okay to feel that way. We're going to take everything from you, but you're still allowed to, exist in the lie that you've always existed in. And so he gets treated like the savior that he is. So I think it showed how deep these cuts run and how much work we have left to do.
Yes, sir. Excellent points. And there are a number of directions I want to go with this, but I'm going to ask you, because there are two things I want to talk about. One of them I'm going to address right here on the show, and then the other one I'll address post show in the bonus content. So y'all tell me which one should I address? I want to address misinformation, and I want to address the danger of binaries. Which one should I address right now? Misinformation or the danger of binaries?
Binaries.
Binaries.
Okay, I'll do misinformation in the bonus content. So I think what the Trump presidency has done is it has exposed even further the danger of binaries. Binaries meaning it has to be an either or. Binaries never allow for a gray area. It's either black or white and nothing in between. Binaries mean you can either only be gay or straight, nothing in between. Because whether you're gay or you're straight, there are people in both communities who think that bisexual people are somehow like perverted, like greedy people because they have natural attractions to different, genders. And what we've seen over these past few years is just how strong those binaries are. Again, like Ariana was saying, this isn't something new. Binaries have always been paramount to how we function as a country. When you think about our two-party system, you got to either be Republican or Democrat. When the reality is most of us don't fully identify with either party. I don't consider myself Democrat or Republican, but when it comes time to vote, our country has a binary system that only gives me two options. So I have to pick the one which I assume does the least amount of damage to me. And right now, with binaries and the way they function in our country, it has led many people to believe that in order for one thing to be true, everything else must be false. So we can never live in the tension of two things being true at once. And we get into these conversations about faith and politics, and we think in order for me to be right, everybody else has to be wrong, when in reality there can be some truth to what both of us are saying. And if we could find that common gray area, I believe we can move forward a lot faster and everyone would benefit. But it's always the binary of it's got to be this or it's got to be this, and there's nothing in between. And appreciate it. A little mic drop. That's my first mic drop of season 3. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waitress. It's very, very important. It's very, very important that we move beyond these binary conversations where it's either or. I'm much more of a both and kind of guy. Where can we find the common ground and moving forward beyond these binaries? So, does somebody have something you wanted to say? I felt like somebody.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think the challenge with that is that creates and fosters collaboration. And our country is not built on collaboration. It is really focused on complete and utter division, which makes it so amazing that our country is named United. And this is problematic. And I think this is what makes Holy Smokes, the faith community, and church challenging, is because people think you either, if you're Christian, you can't smoke cigars in public, but you can do it in private. You can't love white people and be black. You can't love gay people and be straight. You can't love the poor and be rich. This is going to be challenging to even reconform simply because it's so a part of our bloodline as a country that to remove the blood means you got to kill something, or you got to actually take that blood out and put somebody else's blood in. And too many people like the blood the way it is. So that binary piece has people on the outskirts who like collaboration and who like being together. And I think that's too, I'm not trying to shoot you down, Christian, but I think it's too utopic for America.
No, I get it. I'm I'm a realist and an idealist at the same time. Like I know that is
Both and.
yeah, yeah. It's a utopian concept. I also believe that it can exist. It just has to start small. Hopefully what we've started here is a creation of that utopian concept where we can listen to each other and agree and disagree, but also honor each other's lived experiences at the same time. Because anybody who's been a part of this community for any amount of time knows that we don't agree on everything, but we try to at least honor each other's lived experiences. All right, so we got let me see, about 7 minutes before it's time for us to wrap up the episode, and then we'll do some bonus content after this for our Patreon audience, because I do want to talk about this misinformation thing. But I want each of you to take about 90 seconds and share with us, one thing we can do to try to move forward and recover in the aftermath of this presidency. Uh, Karima, what's one thing we can do try to move forward and recover?
Look to the future. Look to the future. This generation that's coming, again, I'm in the world of children. And when I look at my teenagers, when I look at my younger children, the world occurs for them completely different. We have done our job, and many of us have done a good job of creating a world that we wanted for our kids, and they are living in a non-binary world. They are experiencing that. We didn't experience it. I know I didn't growing up, but we have done that. We've laid the foundation, and the younger generation, they are building upon it. So, as Martin Luther King said, we might not see it in our lifetime, but I believe that we will, but it's coming. So it's going to require patience. It's going to require diligence. It's going to require vision. But there always has to be hope. But these younger kids, they have it. Someone asked my son, who was 10, if Black Panther was a big deal to him because, this main actor was Black. And my son was like, no. Because for him, he is growing up in a world, like he grew up in a world where he had, his first president was Barack Obama. So he doesn't live in the same type of, world that we grew up in. So for him, he's like, okay, and, he was Black, that's cool. He doesn't need to fight for that, because in his eyes, the battle is already won. Now he gets to flex and enjoy it. So keep hope alive. All isn't lost. There are look to the hills from whence cometh your help. And right now, those hills are full of the younger generation that are experiencing and building upon the foundations that many of us have set for them. I'm very excited about the future.
That makes me think we need to do a show that talks about what does it mean for the church to meet that generation, because right now the church is not equipped to meet the needs of that generation. Grayson, give us about 90 seconds, man. What can we do to recover in the aftermath?
Honestly, Karima, if you've got anything more to say, because I love what you were talking about, I'll cede my time to you, because you're saying some good stuff and full of hope and stuff. So if you got something else, I'd love to hear it. But if not, I can say some stuff.
I'll just say, spend some time with children, spend some time with kids. The younger, the better, and ask them these questions and see what they say, and then build upon what they say.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Ross, what you got, man?
Yeah, you talked about recovery. There's two sides to recovery. One is that there's pain. And then there's the other side that there's acknowledgement. When you are trying to become a recovering addict, you have to acknowledge that I'm an addict. When you have a surgery to go through the recovery process, they're going to give you a prescription because they know that you're going to be hurting. I think we have to take the time to be honest that we're hurting and that we're sick. It's not going to be profitable to move forward, knowing that Mitch McConnell is seemingly bionic. He just won't die. And there are so many people who are of his ilk that seem to live forever. But the truth is, we're a hurting country. Oh!
I had to hit you for that one because you took a shot at Mitch McConnell so hard.
Hey, man, I mean, but you got to realize that it's literally like I'm having a surgeon who's not trying to make me better. He's trying to make me worse. So this process is acknowledging, going through the pain, and putting ourselves in a position where we get better doctors. Because the doctors that are in position right now to help do surgery on the country and on the church seemingly don't want to see it better. They just want to see the people get sicker. So I think that's the first step that we got to put in.
Yes, sir. That is some great insight. Listen, we're going to continue this conversation a little bit more with the Patreon audience. But for those of you who are listening, please do check in with us next time. The next episode will be I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. And Josh Carpenter, one of our patrons, is going to be on here with us. So join us next time right here. Holy smokes, cigars and spirituality.